Chapter 8. Cognitive Laziness. The human brain is one of the most powerful organs in nature. It can compose symphonies, solve complex mathematical problems, design spacecraft, and imagine entire civilizations that do not yet exist. But despite this extraordinary capability, the brain has a strong preference for something very simple: efficiency. Thinking deeply is surprisingly expensive. The brain consumes a significant amount of the body's energy, and complex reasoning requires even more. Careful analysis demands attention, concentration, and mental effort. It slows us down. So the brain develops a habit that psychologists sometimes refer to as cognitive laziness, the tendency to rely on quick, automatic thinking rather than deliberate, effortful reasoning whenever possible. This does not mean people are literally lazy or unwilling to think. Instead, it means the mind naturally prefers fast thinking over slow thinking. When an answer appears quickly and feels plausible, the brain often accepts it without further examination. Most of the time, this shortcut works reasonably well. Everyday decisions, choosing what to eat, navigating familiar streets, responding to casual conversations, do not require deep analysis. But when complex or important issues arise, this preference for mental ease can lead to serious misunderstandings. Psychologists often describe human thinking as operating in two general modes. The first is fast thinking. It is automatic, intuitive, and effortless. Fast thinking helps us recognize faces, understand language, and make quick judgments. It operates constantly and usually without conscious awareness. The second is slow thinking. This mode is deliberate and analytical. It activates when we solve difficult problems, evaluate evidence, or question our initial impressions. Slow thinking requires concentration and energy. The challenge is that fast thinking tends to dominate. Once it produces an answer that feels reasonable, the brain often sees no need to engage the slower system. The result is a mind that can appear confident even when it has not examined the situation very carefully. Consider a warehouse supervisor named Marcus. One afternoon, Marcus hears from a colleague that a new workplace safety regulation will soon be introduced. The colleague mentions that the rule might slow down operations and increase paperwork. Later that evening, Marcus sees a short social media post criticizing the same regulation. The post claims the rule is unnecessary and will only create obstacles for hardworking employees. The message is simple and emotionally appealing. Marcus reads it quickly while scrolling through his phone. The explanation fits neatly with what he has already heard and with his general frustration about administrative changes at work. Within seconds, he forms a firm opinion. The new regulation must be pointless. He shares the post with several co-workers and adds a comment about how common sense seems to be disappearing. What Marcus does not do, largely because the situation does not feel important enough to justify the effort, is examine the regulation more carefully. He does not read the full policy explanation or the accident reports that originally motivated the change. If he had taken the time, he might have discovered that the rule was created after a series of serious workplace injuries in similar facilities. The additional procedures were designed to prevent accidents that had previously caused long-term harm to employees. Marcus is not an irresponsible person. He cares about safety and about his colleagues. But his brain accepted the first explanation that felt plausible, and fast thinking closed the case before slow thinking had a chance to begin. Cognitive laziness thrives in environments where information moves quickly and attention is constantly divided. Modern life presents a steady stream of claims, opinions, headlines, and debates. Each piece of information demands some degree of evaluation. If the brain examined every claim carefully, the mental workload would become overwhelming. So it begins sorting information rapidly. If the idea sounds familiar, it is probably true. If the explanation is simple, it is probably correct. If the message comes from someone we trust, it probably does not require further checking. These shortcuts save time and energy, but they also create opportunities for misunderstanding, manipulation, and the spread of incomplete or misleading information. If cognitive laziness is a natural tendency of the human mind, the goal cannot be to eliminate it. Quick thinking is essential for daily life, but we can learn to recognize moments when deeper thinking is necessary. A practical commandment might be expressed this way: when something feels obvious, think twice. This principle encourages a brief pause whenever a conclusion appears too easy. Instead of immediately accepting the first explanation that comes to mind, the individual asks a few additional questions. Is there more to this issue than the quick summary suggests? What information might be missing from this explanation? Would my opinion change if I examined the full context? These questions activate the slower, more careful system of thought. Imagine a culture where people regularly took a few extra moments to examine claims before reacting to them. Discussions might slow down, but they would also become more thoughtful. Misunderstandings could be corrected earlier. Decisions would be shaped less by quick impressions and more by genuine understanding. The human brain will always prefer the path of least resistance. But wisdom often begins when we choose, occasionally and deliberately, to think a little harder than our instincts suggest.